Right. It looks like our stream is going to be a whole heck of a lot healthier today. Welcome to the Dom Skiing channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And today, spring training game 2, simplify the layout a little bit. Looks like our stream health is way better. Sorry for if you were here yesterday, you saw how the stream health wasn't as good. We had a lot to talk about though. And today, right, another noon 10 first pitch. You're not going to have too many of the first guys out there, especially today that played yesterday. Especially, I don't think there's anybody who started yesterday that's starting today other than Colt Emerson. Colt Emerson, the lone guy in the starting lineup that started yesterday. You had, Connor Joe played yesterday. Mastroboni played yesterday. Rivas played, hit a homer yesterday. But you don't have anybody back in the starting lineup after starting yesterday. So it looks like for the Giants, right, they've got some of their regulars out there. Harrison Bader leading off. Somebody who had a similar B WAR to Randy Arozarena, if you watch my podcast with Mariners Mojo a little bit back, like 2 days ago, you would have seen, that Harrison, we played the game Randy Orr. That was a really fun game. You go check that out if you haven't already. But we go over kind of, do we think Randy or this player is going to have a higher baseball reference WAR, have a better outcome-based season in 2026? And Harrison Bader comes up on that list, and both, Colton, Joe, Mariner Mojo, and myself say, okay, Randy's going to have a better B WAR. But Harrison Bader leading off for them, a guy who puts up surprising WAR totals every season. This is a guy who, got the sprint speed, doesn't hit the ball that hard, doesn't have the on-base stuff. That's why you see all the blue and then the red at the end. That's the sprint speed on his baseball savant page. Then you've got, Victor Robles for us. Victor Robles, somebody who I made a breakdown of this season. And Victor Robles, in that breakdown, kind of the gist of it, we can just recap it because we've only got 15 minutes, a little less than 15 minutes till first pitch. Victor Robles, what we're looking for this year is just to keep that contact approach, the streaky contact hitter. Hard to watch when he's off, awesome to watch when he's on. So Victor Robles, excited to see, if he can just get on a hot streak. And if he can get on a hot streak, against these quad A pitchers, it does not matter. Triple A and double A pitchers, it does not matter as much. Hayden Birdsong is a legit pitcher, though. This guy has a whole bunch of pitches to actually work with. And, I'm excited to see really those matchups, Birdsong against Robles to begin. I think, that's going to be the bottom of the first inning. That's probably my matchup of the day is Birdsong, Robles. Can Robles get off to a hot start against an MLB pitcher? Cole Young, his first game of spring training. What we're looking for with him, his breakdown on my channel did extremely well this offseason. One of my best videos of the offseason. But the gist of that, right, the Mariners believe in this guy because he's so good at getting on base. That's why the MLB is way, way higher on this guy than the rest of, the rest of the public. So we're going to hopefully see why Cole Young, why the MLB is so high on Cole Young compared to the rest of the public today. Him going up against a real MLB pitcher and Hayden Birdsong as well. And with Hayden Birdsong, got 4-pitch guy, 4-seam, slider, change curve. He was a guy who I think they tried to move to the bullpen last season. Definitely a candidate for that in the future as well. Just looking at, he's a big, hard-throwing righty, and he's only got, really 4 pitches. He's got a slur that he throws 2% of the time, but wouldn't expect to see that today at all. Probably going to eliminate that. Probably going to go more with, he throws the fastball 45% to each side of the plate, lefties and righties. And you've got the righty with Robles leading off, lefty with Cole Young. Patrick Wisdom, this is a guy who is kind of just a bonus in spring training, a guy who's going to fill in the WBC, keep Naylor fresh. That's why he's getting the start at first day, I imagine. But he's also, when you look at the first base depth in the Mariners organization, there's basically none to speak of other than him and Luke Raley. Yeah, Naylor and Luke Raley. So Wisdom has an argument to be the third first baseman in this organization to begin the 2026 regular season. With Wisdom, you want to see the pop in there, but you also, we'll see if, he can control the zone at all. Wouldn't expect too much of that. You kind of just expect things to go however you'd expect them to go. It's like okay, this guy has the pop, what anything else we can get out of him, great, but that's not what we're expecting. Um, and then Wisdom also being a righty, kind of balances out the lineup. So if the Mariners really need more right-handed hitting, Patrick Wisdom is a guy who's been at the MLB level before. The organization has a lot of familiarity with. Connor Joe played yesterday, had the single that drove in 2 runs and took those were the game-winning runs, actually. Connor Joe is a guy, he makes some decent contact. He's fast. His plate approach gets a little jumpy at times, but he's an interesting one, too. If he can get on base quite a bit, he's a guy who could be a candidate to come up at some point this season, unless he elects waivers and goes and tries to sign with another team in the month of April or something like that. Kinsner, man, I'm really excited for Kinsner. I think he's my bold prediction of spring training is that he is going to have one of the better batting averages on the team, 307 with a 137 WRC plus in the second half of last season. Andrew Kinsner, excited to see how Emerson Hancock works with him. Going to get into Hancock for just a minute before we take off out of here. Mastrobuoni, you're getting with him. Just some speed and a little bit of contact, but again, streaky contact hitter like Robles, not quite as good at it, and not a guy whose profile suggests that he deserves the runway that a prospect like Robles would deserve. Then Rivas got off to a torrid start yesterday with the bomb. Punished a slider. If he can go and punish some more of those junk pitches, I mean, he can be a good protection piece in the lineup beyond just being a guy who fills in as a utility. And with Brendan Donovan here, the question is it possible for Rivas to not make the team and go back to Tacoma? He does, I think, have an option at least, if not more. Because when you have Brendan Donovan, you may not need that utility aspect quite as much. And, Rivas might have to prove something beyond that. If he's punishing junk pitches, then he can be better protection in the lineup beyond that. He's a guy who just he does all the little things right, despite not having any big tools that you would say, oh, that's why he's a major leaguer. Then Las Montes also got a hit yesterday, dropped one into, by the right field line. Las Montes, I can kind of pair up Las Montes and Colt Emerson. The prospects just get an honest evaluation. Las definitely, the body type is imposing. Off the bus scouting, it's like this guy gets off the bus to play your team. It's like, oh boy, right? That's a big dude. That's a big, imposing, menacing dude. I would love to see Las Montes hit some bombs. That would just be fun to see his power stroke start working. But Colt Emerson came really close yesterday, and I think Colt Emerson's going to have, if I had to, last year I do my home run, I do strikeouts for starting pitcher, and then I do, score prediction. So score prediction of the spring training games, just for fun. Don't take this seriously. I'm going to go 9-3. I'm going to say the Mariners just absolutely blow out the Giants. Get a little bit hot, even though there's a million different players playing. To homer, I'm going to take Colt Emerson because he was so close yesterday. I think the swing is definitely there. It's a violent swing, not violent in terms of his body stays stiff, kind of like a golf swing. I mean, it stays in the same box. He doesn't have to move around a whole lot to get the muscle the ball out there. I think Colt Emerson's going to be the one to hit a homer today, and then I think Emerson Hancock. How many strikeouts do we think Emerson's going to get? Really, the interesting thing with Emerson, and yesterday the stream was lagging when I tried to show this. It was probably the most interesting thing we talked about yesterday. Dane Dunning was doing the modern thing. This is the thing you should expect to see in 2026. Instead of throwing behind the baseball, he gets on the side of the baseball and he cuts all of his pitches pretty much. So he, the sinker, the cutter, both, kind of coming out of this cutter shape, and it helps them get more, a little bit of swing and miss, a little bit of contact reduction. I'm hoping and expecting Emerson Hancock, a guy who has awesome curveball and changeup type stuff. His curveball and changeup are basically the only things that you look at from when he was drafted that it's like, oh yeah, he still looks like a bona fide stud. But then you look at, his fastballs, and I think that was the reason he was getting crushed last year, for sure. The change in the slider, but he was throwing that change looks like a curveball a lot of the time. It drops off a cliff. He has some really interesting pitches. The slider and the sweeper. I don't know what to make of those, but if everything's coming out of the cutting shape, if he's just getting on the side of the baseball to throw it and not getting behind the baseball, I think he's going to have a lot more success. He has the big imposing frame. For Emerson Hancock, only going to be in 2 innings. Let's say he gets Let's go 4 strikeouts. I want to take the over. The main thing to look for, though, is try to look at Emerson Hancock's hand. See, does he get behind the baseball still? Is he still just coming over the top like that? Coming 18-degree arm angle last year. Is he just coming around the side like that? I'll kind of get it in frame so you can see it. Is he still just coming around the side? Or is he getting on the side of the baseball to actually do something more interesting with the way he's gripping the baseball? That can permeate throughout all of his pitches, and it'll make his changeup and slider and sweeper more interesting, as well as the sinker and the four-seam fastball. I wouldn't even be surprised to see a straight-up cutter out of Emerson Hancock. Anyway, we are going to get to the game in just a couple minutes now. I'm going 9-3. I'm going Emerson Hancock for 4 strikeouts in 2 innings, and I'm going Colt Emerson to homer.